So I know I said this, I'm going to say it again. This topic is so important. And the way this training came up was there was an agent recently who I talked to about new builds and new construction. I haven't even looked to see who's on here. He might be on here. And then there was someone else who was asking Kirsten a question, and someone else who was asking their other coach a question. In the past 2 weeks or so, there's been a number of agents asking about new builds, new construction, and working with it as an agent, like what that looks like. And Kirsten reached out to me to lead this because this is well, I was a renter for 9 years because I don't like commitment and owning a house is commitment. And when I finally bought, my husband and I bought a new build. And then and I represent myself as an agent as well, buying the new build. So I bought it and was the agent for myself. And then fast forward, I represent a number of my friends and family over the years for new builds and helped agents get into relationships with new builds. And new builds kind of over the years become one of my top three absolute favorite things of all times. Right. Um, so that's this topic. For anybody on here who has not met me, I think I know all of you, but just in case, I'll do a quick introduction. Hi, Alana Huber-Katz, Director of Education Coaching, Keller Williams Legacy, Keller Williams Capital Properties across Maryland, DC, Virginia. A national trainer with Keller Williams International. I always have to do that because these are recorded and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here we go with new builds. So we're going to talk about how to protect your commission, serve your buyers better, and create more business. All right. Let me ask you this question. So live question, you can either come off mute and put in the chat box. You all decided on a Friday to attend this. What are you hoping to get out of this? Obviously, like, how do I work new builds? But what are you hoping to get out of this? Or when you think of new builds, do you have kind of a myth or a thought in mind, like kind of a limiting belief with it?
I'm hoping to get more understanding of new builds because I have a customer or a client that is looking specifically at new builds. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about them to make sure I help them succeed. Because when I bought my house, it was not a new build. So
And it's very different. It's very
very.
different. Yep, absolutely. Love that. All right, Kobe, come on off mute.
Hi, everybody. I would like to emphasize what Dallas said, just looking to get more information, but also in the next couple of years, I'll be moving to the PG County area, and my business will be I would prefer for it to be primarily there, and it's a lot of new build, new construction type of homes and sales and developments up there. So I want to be able to adjust with the market that I'm going to.
Love that. Absolutely. Thank you. Jeanette. Oh, you're on mute.
I
Oh.
just want to learn like the ins and out, if it's easier, not easier, but like what does it take to invite people to lean towards, like if I do a post for something, what can I say to encourage them if they want a new build reference to an existing home?
Love that. Excellent. Do me a favor, towards the latter part of this, remind me, because I might forget, remind me to show you a trick if we have time I'll share my screen and show you a trick in um, one of the AI portals, like Chat or Gemini or whatever you use, on creating your post for you for that. So you don't have to think about it. You just have to use it. Cool. Love that. Joe.
I think what I'm looking for to get out of this session is to convince a client that they need an agent, even if they're going for a new build. So how do I do that? And how do I make them realize that they do need an agent, they need to be represented?
Love that. Okay. We're going to go through everything all of you just said. Now, if at some point in time I miss something or you have a follow-up question or I say something, you're like, wait, I don't understand that. I want more details. If you are thinking it, please ask the question. Someone else is thinking the same thing. So you can put it in the chat box, raise your digital hand because I want to make sure this time you're getting your questions answered during this time. All right. Why new builds matter. Okay. So I'm going to read this, but then I'm also going to explain as I get to some of the bullet points, right? So, number one, people are already asking, right? Somebody on here is like, I want to learn more about new construction, new builds. Now you're going to hear both those phrases, new construction, new builds. On one hand, they are the exact same thing and they mean the same thing. In a buyer's mind, they mean the same thing. Okay, when a buyer says, I want new construction or I want a new build, it's the same thing. I want a new house. The slight difference to where if all of a sudden Jeanette says, yeah, we're tired of living in these rundown. By the way, I'm going to use an example of my best friend when she bought her most recent house a few years ago. And prior to that, her husband and her bought and sold, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4 homes. Like every 3 years, they were buying and selling homes. So she's like, all right, we're ready for a new house. We're tired of where we're living. We want to move back to, they were in PA. We want to move back to Maryland. I'm like, yay, closer to me. And she goes, and we're tired of fixer-uppers. We're tired of doing work. We want new construction. So my follow-up question to her, okay, was, so these follow-up questions are really important. So if you're taking notes, I hope you are. The follow-up question to her was, okay, when you say new construction, there's new homes, like model homes, right, that are being built, so they've never been lived in. There's buying land and hiring a builder to literally build a home for you from scratch, right? So you're buying land and getting something constructed for you. And then there's the newer homes that are on the market, and they're still they're not really new construction, new builds, but they are because they're really only a year or 2 or 3 old. And people are, someone maybe just got into it a year or 2 ago and they have to sell it for whatever reason. So it's still new, right? It's still newer. And I'm like, so which out of all those, like so when you said what you just said, which out of those do you mean? So you do have to, as an agent, ask questions, right? That's my best friend. I didn't even know what she meant because they don't know. They don't know the lingo. They don't know what it means. So we have to clarify it. So she goes, no, I don't want to buy land. Like, no, I have no desire to buy land and do all this and do all that. And I just want something fresh and new where I'm not having to replace flooring every, a year after in and replace this. And she was talking about all the pain points of her current home she had to go through. Right. So just again, when ask questions to understand more. Don't assume they know because they don't. They do not know. Many buyers walk into builder offices without agents. We're going to get to that in a few slides, and that's going to be probably out of every slide we go to, the most important slide. So in a few slides, it's going to literally be we're going to talk about that because there is something very crucial about that statement. And it's regarding your commission, right? So here's the thing. New construction is an opportunity in any market. Oops, it went backwards. Let me go forwards. So here's the thing. There's new builds happening all the time, all over the place, right? Number one, they're not always on the MLS yet. So it's our opportunity as an agent to do research through social media, looking them up, through driving around areas, through Google searches. You can go to ChatGPT now and ask them, right? What's around your territories or what's around your neighborhoods and new builds. So sometimes there's new builds that aren't even on there. So if you're throwing something on social media or you're working with buyers and you know their price point and area and all of that, that's you sharing with them opportunities that most likely no other agents taking the time to do that. Okay. So you're standing out from other agents. 2, you're truly working for that buyer. Or if you don't have a buyer yet, you're pulling intriguing information to post on social media to capture people's interest. Like, wait a minute. I want to learn about that, right? So it's the agent who truly understands the process, who gets the repeat business, not repeat business just from that buyer, but repeat business from the builder. You can actually build relationships with the builder. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. You can actually become a preferred agent with certain builders. It takes time. It takes relationship building. You can't just walk into a sales office of a new build and be like, hi, I'm an agent. Okay, you don't know me. You don't know how I work, but I want, to take 4 of your properties, list them on MLS, and I want to put my sign in your yards. Right. However, one of my friends who's an agent, been an agent for a few years, he recently partnered with this new build company who is selling $1 million+ homes. These homes are stunning, stunning. So before they even broke ground, they had that little trailer thing set up. So we started building relationship. Like, my God, he brought them cookies. He brought them cupcakes one day. Like, he brought them lunch one day. He's like, hey, as you do your model home, like, how can I entice buyers to help you? So he's coming with value of how can I talk to my buyers about what your homes are? Over time, and it didn't take long. I think it was like literally maybe a month and a half to 2 months. It was not long in this relationship. He was like, hey, I would love to, when you get the model home up, I'd love to host a home buying seminar in there and attract buyers. Value. Okay. Then it turned into, after he hosted that, then it turned into, I have a huge network. Now, all of you have a huge network because you're with the largest real estate organization of the entire world. So you have a huge network. Network doesn't mean I have this many followings on social media, although that helps. Network is who you're with, who you're partnered with. So he's like, I have this huge network. I would love to take whatever number of properties you allow me to, put a few of my for sale signs in the yard, so I can start attracting buyers to your properties with that as well. And also list them on the MLS for a certain period of time. Right. And I think he was allowed to do it for like 30 days each or something like that. And that's, different addendum forms. That's when you get to that point, a question for your coach and your broker. And so not only was he did a home buying seminar in the model home, the other homes weren't built yet. They then let him, as the homes were being built, or even before the homes were built, it was just ground. He then had 4 for sale signs, his for sale signs in the yards, was allowed to do short little mini listings on MLS for each of them. And then when the model home was truly built, he then hosted a broker's open for it and invited all the local agents and they can invite buyers and sellers. He had this huge event, right? I went to it. It was amazing. He had a taco truck out front. He took the island that was in the kitchen, that was like probably one of the biggest islands in the kitchen I've ever seen. And they literally turned the island into a charcuterie board. It was amazing. But he built this relationship to be able to do that, right? So now he is locked in as their go-to agent. Right? Now they don't give him buyers because the builder is a seller. Let me say that. The builder is a seller. They represent themselves, they represent the seller. They don't represent the buyers, so the buyers are unrepresented when they don't have an agent. What he's doing is he's showing up with value to promote their properties even more. Joe, what's up?
Quick question about the brokers open, and probably a dumb question. What
No
what
thing.
are they? Like how do they help?
So brokers opens are really fun to do with kind of the higher price point properties, in my opinion. Like you wouldn't do that for like a $200,000 property, I'll say that. And it just kind of gives the agents, one, your homeowners love it. So like when you have a listing and you're
Mm-hmm.
telling your sellers, like, I'm not only going to do an open house for you, but I'm also going to do a broker's open. So I'm going to personally invite all the agents in the area to come view the property, not with buyers, not with clients. It's just agents coming.
Agents. Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
it's
Got
just
it.
agents. No clients allowed. Yeah. So it's kind of like a preview to the home before.
It goes in the market, but it's
No,
more
no, no.
like,
It has to be on the market. It has to
okay.
be active, but it's a preview before you do the open house. So like a lot of times an agent will do it like a Thursday night before the open house that weekend.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So advantage of new construction for buyers, right? Modern features, personalized options. We'll talk about what that is in just a minute, what that means. Brand new home systems, builder warranties. Um, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Layouts, energy efficiency. Again, so with my best friend who bought their new build, theirs was they had so many pain points with all of their previous houses, and they were exhausted with all of the work they've constantly had to do with the homes. They just wanted to be in a house where they didn't have to deal with any of that stuff, right? For me personally, when my husband and I were looking to buy, we weren't necessarily only looking at new builds. But I will share this. I'm going to stop the share for just a second. I will share this. The reason why we were looking at all homes, new homes, older homes, not too old. The reason we were leaning towards and going to more model homes though is I have no time and energy to put work into a house. My husband, not the handiest. He is, but he's not. Um, so it was more of I don't want to deal with going into a house that's 30 years old or 20 years old and having to all of a sudden fix. Now, we know things happen all the time, and I have since fixed the HVAC, the plumbing, the this, the that, the floors, my fridge is about to go, knock on wood, but happens over time. I've been in there now. Next year will be 10 years. So obviously it's not new anymore. Um, but a lot of times your buyers, it's understanding your buyers, right? Are they wanting to put work in a home? Awesome. Are they like, I just don't want the hassle. Like, I just want to come home, relax on the couch, and not think about anything. Okay, new builds will be, hey, we're going to look at homes that are newer, right? 5 years old, 3 years old, even 6 years old. Those are great. Those are newer. And we'll also look at new builds. Okay, so you're not limiting them, you're adding to it, right? Other advantages, there's a lot of incentives. Now, every single new build is different. So this is a conversation um, that you'll have with your buyer as setting the expectation, but it's also a conversation you're going to have when they actually choose that property before they sign the paperwork. Okay. And a lot of the incentives are a lot of new builds, new constructions. They offer closing costs. I'm going to talk about that in a minute and give you an example. They might have rate buy downs. If you don't know what that means, please call your lender relationship and ask them. That's a great question to ask your lender. If you don't know what that means, I can sit here and talk to you all day long about that, but that's where your lender relationship comes into play. Be like, hey, I'm a newer agent. I'm learning about new things. Walk me through what a rate buy down is. Trust me, those lenders are going to eat up that you call them about that question, right? Because again, they need that relationship with you as well. And again, upgrades. So I want to talk a little bit about closing costs. So I'm going to share my personal story with you. And I know somebody on here, I just literally talked to you on the phone like a week ago, so you get to hear it again. You're welcome. So I was already in real estate, 2 years when my husband and I decided to stop renting and buying and own a home. And which, by the way, in January of 2017, we were like, all right, this should be the year that we stop renting and we should own a home. Now, our lease wasn't up until the end of October. So my husband, not being in real estate, was like, okay, so we'll play around, but we won't start looking till summertime because our lease isn't up on October. What ended up happening, and I'm going to get back to the closing costs, I'm going to tie it all together. What ended up happening was it was around February, March. It was the end of March. No, beginning of March. Once someone gets in their head they're looking to buy, doesn't matter who they are, they start playing, right? So it was the end of March. It was a weekend. I'm sitting at home with my laptop and I'm literally just playing online. I'm just looking at pictures online. That's what I'm doing. We're not going to see houses yet. We didn't talk to a lender yet. None of this. We're just playing online. Well, all of a sudden, this house popped up and it was new construction, but it was in an area I knew my husband really kind of didn't want to live in. Like the location, he was like, "Oh, I want to stay on this side of the highway, not that side of the highway." But I'm gonna share this. Uh, all of the names of the roads are Harry Potter names. I'm kind of a dork. I love Harry Potter. All right. So it was Dumbledore Way, Potter Way, Butterbear, Alchemy, Ravenclaw. And I'm like, "God, this is fun." So that was a Saturday. I'm like, look at these. So I just showed him pictures. I didn't show him where it was. Sunday, I was like, hey, let's take a drive. True story. I didn't tell him where we were driving. I was like, let's take a drive. I drove us to the model home. So again, this is March. We're not thinking about buying till October. So I want you to hear this story because this is your buyers, every buyer, this is their mind. This is how buyers' minds work. So we're just like, yeah, let's go take a drive. So we go to this model house just for fun. Because again, we're not thinking till October. We're walking through the model house. We walk upstairs and I'm like, oh, dream kitchen. Okay. It had the kitchen that I just dreamed of. And I'm like, okay, I want this. And then of course there's all these other people there looking at it as well. So of course FOMO's kicking in, right? Because I see, again, yes, I'm an agent, but I'm a buyer right now. My eyes are a buyer. So I see all these other people looking. So I'm like, oh my God, like they're all looking too. So the salesperson at the front desk was like, hey, we have this one last strip being built. It's being built in April, slated to be done by the end of April, May timeframe. We'll talk about that in a minute. And this is the last section where there's no houses, it's townhouses, where there's no houses behind it. We only have 3 left. So we sat down with the salesperson. Again, this is the end of March. We sat down with the salesperson. He's like, we only have these 3 left, and there's silver, gold, and platinum. Right. So with new builds, there's either, okay, so when you look at builds, you either have a new build like Lennar, Beazer, Richmond, sometimes they kind of go back and forth, who it's pre-made, they're already set. They just have 3 different packages, meaning silver, gold, and platinum. Silver is like you still get granite countertops and all that, but it's, not the higher end stove or higher end appliances. It's still nice, stainless steel, but it's not the higher end, right? It might not be, it's maybe a different type of color flooring of wood as opposed to a different color, right? So it's the silver package. And then you have the gold package, and it is, whatever those next level up is. And then you got platinum, which is like, holy crap, right? It's like every bell and whistle. And so they had in our price point, right? Now we didn't quite know our price points. We didn't talk to our lender yet, but in our price point, well, we did and didn't. I'll tell you that in a second. We wanted the gold. We couldn't, I was like, platinum, no, like that. No, that's way off our price point. And that's too much. We don't even want that. Like I'll never use that weird extra floor that they built on. So we sat there in the sales office and they're like, okay, I'll put a hold on this one that's being built because there's only one more gold being built for tomorrow. Let me know by tomorrow, or it's, somebody else. So this is now the end of March. We literally walked in there the very next day. We went home that night. We're like, okay, I guess we're getting out of our lease early. Like, let's pull up our lease agreement. Let's figure out the details. We went in the very next day, signed all the paperwork, represented myself, went under contract like that within that same day, and moved in May. Okay. Why did I share that story with all of you? What did you guys take out of that story? And I'm going to talk about closing costs because that plays a part in this.
Once you see what you want, you just go for it, regardless of if it can actually move or not.
When the buyer sees what they want, they go for it, regardless of what they told you and what their mind is saying. So if you are the agent who has the buyer, right? If my buyer is, let's say, Dallas, and Dallas is like, I'm looking October, and I'm like, great. And I call him in August or September, 99% of the time he's gonna be like, oh yeah, we already bought. So if you're the agent who doesn't ask more questions, doesn't create customizable searches to give them little teasers every so often, right? Doesn't stay in touch with them every single month, right? In that year that they're looking, you will miss out. Okay. Regarding the closing costs, here's the thing. We already had a lender. I already, as an agent, I had a relationship with a lender, and this guy Jim. And so I already knew, like, okay, I'm using Jim, I'm using Jim, I'm using Jim. Like, Jim's my lender. When sitting there at the sales office the day that we were wanting to, say yes to the house, the salesperson at the Lennar home, the salesperson said, well, if you use our lender, we'll provide $8,000 in closing costs. Of course, I was like, oh crap, like, that's nice. So I was like, hold on a minute. I called Jim. This is why relationships are so crucial. I called Jim, I'm like, hey, Jim, I'm sitting here at this new build. I already told you about it, but they're saying if we use their lender, who's this company, this is what we get closing costs. What can you do? Jim, being a amazing lender and now a really close friend, is like, use their lender. I can't beat that. That's an amazing offer. Use their lender. So ended up using their lender. Their lender was fantastic. They actually ended up becoming one of my top 3 that I recommend out now because they were wonderful. I say all that to say, just because you're talking to a buyer and they talk to a lender and they got pre-approved, you might find a new build, right? And you might say, hey, just because you got pre-approved, that allows us to now go look at houses. But if we find this new build for you, they might offer different incentives by using their lender or using this, and we'll want to take advantage of that. That's a good thing. Like, it's going to help you. Okay. Our due diligence is to our clients. It is not to our lenders or title or any of this. There's our partners. Just because, and by the way, I've still since talked to Jim, used Jim, this and that. Like, if I ever buy a house again, I'm probably going to still go through Jim unless it's a new build again. And I get an incentive, right? That didn't tarnish a relationship. That didn't do anything, right? It's doing what's best for your clients. Oops, hold on. Okay. So again, we talked a little bit about this, right? Inventory beyond the MLS. A lot of builds are on the MLS, but some of them are not. So doing your searches on that. Model homes make easier showings. They're also really fun to do home buying seminars at. Model homes of new builds are so much fun to do home buying seminars at. Many builders out there. By the way, when I say builder, it could be a builder like Beazer or Lennar, who you have the builder, but then each location has a sales person, a sales office. Okay, so you're working with a sales office person until your buyer actually chooses the house, and then you're going to work with the builder on the actual time frame of the build and the walkthroughs. So you can always walk into any model home and sales office, talk to whoever the main contact is, introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Alana. I'm an agent local for this, I'm a local agent in this area with Keller Williams. And I just want to know if you ever allow agents to do home buying seminars in your model home, where I can not only show off your beautiful home and your beautiful, new builds, but also attract a lot of buyers here. Is that something you ever allow agents to do? Here's the thing. Worst thing that happens is this. Ready? What do you think the worst thing that happens is?
Let's say no.
They say no. They say no. That okay, cool. Okay. By the way, they're not saying no to you because they don't like you. They're saying no because they might already have a relationship with an agent. They might be saying no because they don't allow it. Who knows? No is not a negative word in any way. No just simply means there's a reason behind them not being able to allow you to do that. But again, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. So again, strong builder relationships can lead to priority releases, meaning if you have a really strong, usually builders don't just build in one spot, right? So again, my home's in Lennar and I'm in Howard County, but Lennar is in, oh my goodness, PG County, Bel Air, DC. I mean, they're all over. They're across the nation. They're not even just local, right? So if you have a really strong relationship with one of the builders out there, right? By the way, there's literally hundreds. If you have a really strong relationship with that builder regarding that new build, you're going to be on their list to start receiving prior release items. So now you can educate you. Oh my God, that's great social media. That's great for anybody you're working with as buyers to kind of be teasers. Hey, I get pre-releases to new builds before they even go to any other agents, before they even hit the market. Right? That's value. Sometimes with strong builder relationships, you can even get referrals. So the gentleman I spoke about, my friend who has his signs in the yards and the builder allowed him for those $1 million homes, they actually have such a strong partnership now because that was, when did they start that? I want to say 2 years ago. So they have such a strong partnership now that when a buyer does just randomly go into that sales office, which buyers do, right, are represented, and they can't afford those homes, it's not the right fit, they're referring that buyer to this agent, right? That's huge. So not only is he getting potential buyers coming from his signs in the yard, he's getting potential buyers from posting on MLS, he's getting potential buyers from them sending them to him, but he's getting potential sellers because now a lot of those buyers buying $1 million homes probably own another home they have to sell before buying that house. So it's literally giving him every avenue. But it took time to get there, right? A lot of agents where they, no, I'll just say it this way, fail in this is we don't give it time. We go in wanting that instant connection, wanting them instantly say yes to us, coming at it more of a sales approach as opposed to a value approach. And I'm like, this doesn't work. It 100% works. 100% works for the agents who give it time and come from value. All right, remember I said there was one slide? Okay, so Jeanette, I'm going to answer your question, and then I'm going to come to the most important slide of everything. Go ahead.
When you say that if someone walks into a new house and or new construction and they can't afford it, that if you have a good rapport with the construction people, that they could refer them to you, do you give them the referral fee?
It's a conversation with the builder to figure out if they're licensed. If they're not licensed, you're not allowed because that's illegal. But a lot of the salespeople are licensed. So that is completely like everybody you work with is going to have a different relationship and a different, what are we working out?
Yeah. So once you establish a relationship, you would go over stuff like that if you know that they're licensed.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If a person's licensed, but they're a salesperson for that property, typically they can only represent those properties. They can't truly be a licensed agent in the field helping buyers with other properties. Because usually when they are a salesperson for a new build, they're representing just the new build. So sometimes you're able to, now again, it all depends on the new build. Like you might go into 10 of them where 7 say no to you. One's a licensed agent who can do business anywhere, so obviously they wouldn't partner with you. One can only do new builds, right? So it's everything's a conversation, everything's a negotiation. Everything is just simply asking questions to figure out what makes the most sense as a partnership.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. All right, you guys ready for the most important slide? Anybody on here who is half paying attention, half doing something else? If you were going to work with new builds, this is where you stop and pay attention in full. Okay. Here's the thing about builds. I said the salesperson in the office, the new builds, the builders, the commission, or the construction, they are representing they are the seller. They're not representing it. They are the seller. Right? So why would a seller want to pay an agent if they don't have to? So what this means is if you're working with a buyer, okay, so if I'm working with Jeanette and she's my buyer, and I know what she's looking for, I know where she's looking, I know her price points, I know she really doesn't want a fixer-upper because she just wants to go in and just relax and just be in the home. So if I don't have the conversation with her up front as an agent to set expectations, and I'll role play this with you in just a second. I'll show you. I'll tell you what this sounds like in just a second. If I don't have the conversation up front with her on, we're going to look at new builds, we're going to look at newer homes for you. I'm going to look at the homes based on what you just shared with me. Now, if I don't have the second part of this conversation that I'm going to share with you, she doesn't know what she doesn't know because buyers don't know unless we tell them. Okay, we're educators. So she's going to be driving around over the weekend, right, with her friends. She's going to be like, "Oh my God, look at that house. It's beautiful. It's a model home. Let's go see it." Thinking that's the right thing to do because she doesn't know, right? So to her, that is the right thing. And if she walks in that model home, likes it, fills out a little, she's not signing a contract, but she goes and fills out the little, like, I visited your model home form. And then she calls you after, that builder, you have a 1% chance of them ever paying you commission. If she walks into the model home without you and says, "Hey, I'm just looking around. I have an agent. I'm represented." They'll give you a form you fill out. You put the agent's name because you go into their system as like, here's the buyer, here's the agent. So they log you in their system as you having an agent. So if you do buy a house, they have that logged, right? So if we educate the buyers up front, I'm going to share the verbiage for this, then they know to share that. Also, if we say to our buyers, "Hey, I know you're going to see homes. I'm going to see that. I'd rather be with you when you visit them because if not, you're not represented." Right? But I know it's exciting on weekends to pop into places. So if you do pop in on model home, just make sure when you walk in and you introduce yourself, you say, "And by the way, I have an agent. I'm represented. Here's her information." You can even give them a stack of like some of your cards if you want, right? But they'll give you a form to fill out. They all have forms. It's usually online or a piece of paper. It depends on the builder. Here's the thing. Every build, almost every build, every so often there's an exception. Every builder, every new build, they already factor in a certain amount, either percentage or flat fee. We never know until we talk to them, but a certain amount for a buyer's agent. It's not coming out of your buyer side. Your buyer's not paying money. It's not adding on to what they owe. So it's not saying the house is 400,000, but now you're using the agent, so now it's 400,000. It's 405,000. It's not adding anything to your buyer. It's already in there. So when your buyer's not represented, the seller, meaning the builder, just gets to keep more money in their pocket. Really, they're paying themselves twice. Right? And your buyers are now going in unrepresented, unprotected to a home by a seller. Okay, so the conversation, I'm gonna do this now. Dallas, I'm coming to your question in just a second. So I'm gonna role play this with somebody. Okay, so I'm gonna roll this out here and demonstrate how this sounds. Okay, so let's say Dallas, you're my buyer. Okay, so
Sure.
all right, so Dallas, you're my buyer. I already know what you want. I already know where we're looking. I already know, like, we already have that. We already pre-approved, right? All that stuff, right? So we're already good. Right. So I'm fast forwarding that part. So Dallas, listen, I'm going to be sending you a number of homes, right? I'm going to set up a customizable search for you that's going to send you a number of homes based on what you shared with me. And then we're going to line up some showings, right? I know we're going to go out and see. We already lined up 2 for this weekend. We're going to go out and see. There's one really important thing I want to make sure I share with you. I explain. Okay.
Sure, I'm listening.
Okay, cool. So notice how I say okay, and then I pause because I want to make sure he's listening. All right. So because I know you want a home to just be able to walk in and just relax in and not really a fixer-upper, we're going to be looking at not just newer homes, turnkey as we call them, ready homes, but also I will be looking at some new builds out there, new construction, right? You probably drove around, saw some model homes, probably drove past places, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Here's something really, really important. All of those are, we're going to look at some of those. I'm going to pull some up. All of those are represented, those builders and salespeople are sellers. So meaning they represent themselves, they represent the seller. So they can't represent you. They cannot help you negotiate or even have your best interest in mind. That's where I come in. So all I ask of you, this is really important, is anytime you're driving around, I know it's really exciting on the weekends to be popping into places, go right ahead. You're more than welcome to. Just like shoot me a text with where you're going. So if all of a sudden you're going to pop into a model house just because you're in the area and you're excited, text me the address. But then when you go in, they're going to ask you the salesperson's going to ask you for your information. That's normal. You can totally give it. Absolutely say to them, and I'm represented by an agent.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dallas, does that make sense? Do you
Yes, that makes sense.
feel good with
So
that? Are you comfortable with saying that?
yes, that's perfectly fine. Good to know.
Because again, if you don't say that, I cannot represent you on those builds. You are unrepresented and unprotected. So all you're saying to them is, "Oop, I have an agent. Here's her information." They'll be like, "Cool, thanks," and then you go view them at home and have fun.
Okay, cool.
Right. So notice how I made it. Like again, you're not scaring the buyer. Be like, "Oh my God, model homes. We love new builds." I will tell you this. So I've been a coach now since 2017. So because of what I do locally with Keller Williams Capital Properties and Legacy and nationally with Keller Williams International, I've been a licensed agent since 2015, but a lot of my business I refer out because my time is with all of you to help all of you. When friends or family that I stay in touch with, or my database, when they reach out, I do have a conversation with them to see what they're looking for. And if any of them come out of the woodwork, so 3 years ago, another friend of mine, well, it was my husband's best friend's wife, they were looking at new builds. If someone mentions to me new build, I will absolutely represent them because they are super easy. There's nuances. There's nuances, but they are the least amount of time. And in my opinion, like I said, I don't have a lot of time to pour into the field work of being an agent because of everything I do with, and love with what I work with all of you and nationwide. But I will come out and be in the field for new builds any day of the week.
Okay.
All right. Dallas, you had your hand up a little bit ago.
Yeah. So my question was, and you probably answered this, but I don't think I understood. But you said something about like how the builders typically like set aside money for commission for to pay the buyer's agent. Does it work similarly like with like if you have like a certain percentage, right? Let's say you do 2.5%, right? The standard one, but the builder's only offering 2%. Like, is the buyer still responsible for that 0.5% like they would in a normal transaction?
Okay, great question. So because we're recording, I'm going to say this. Because I am a coach and this is a coaching moment, I'm going to talk commissions. Typically, it's not a conversation I can have.
Right.
Okay, so your buyer agency agreement says 2.5%. The builder says, I'm giving you 2, which by the way, the builder already has it. You can try and negotiate, everything's negotiable. So you can always try to negotiate. It's definitely worth trying to negotiate. Like, hey, are you willing to go 2.5?
Hmm.
They might come back and say, well, I'll do 2.25. All right. I'll take 2.25 over 2 any day of the week. That's like an extra
Yeah.
in our pocket sometimes. So one, try to negotiate with the builder first. Builder, salesperson, whoever you're talking to. Here's the thing. You're going to ask. They're either going to be like, yes, we can do this, or they're going to say no. It's one or the other. Okay. So number one, ask them. Then if they do say no, which 90% of the time they do say no, but that 10% say yes. And if you don't ask, you don't know who the 10% is. If they come back and say no, you as an agent make a choice. This is your business, so you're the ones choosing this. Okay. So if your buyers already were explained, which I hope they were, I hope you didn't just send them an agreement to sign without explaining it. If your buyers know it's 2.5%, and whatever the seller provides, if there's a difference, they have to make it up at the closing table, then I would hold that buyer to that 0.5%. And
Okay.
by the way, let them know, be like, hey, they're offering 2%. Just so you know, the buyer agency agreement is 2.5. So at the closing table, whenever we hand over the keys, 0.5% will come from your side. Now, here's the thing. Some agents are like, listen, I am just happy. My buyers just got this house. They got the new build. 2% is still, 2% on a $600,000 property is thousands of dollars, right? So I'll take that over a fight with my buyer or my buyer firing me or any of that. So some agents were like, I'll take 2%. Hey, buyer, they're, paying me 2%. I know I said 2.5. I'm going to waive that 0.5 for you. They're going to be like, oh my God, I love you. You're the greatest agent ever. I'm going to refer you to everyone. So I might choose to do that because I want referrals, right? And by the way,
Hmm.
I'm now going to ask them who they know. That's the time where you're like, by the way, who do you know who's also looking that I can help?
Okay.
I build my
That's what I thought. I was just curious.
Yeah. But as an agent, it is completely your choice. This is your business. Yeah. What you can't
Okay.
do though is go higher. You can't go
Right.
higher.
Right.
Um,
Makes sense.
Mar-
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Marie and then Jeanette and then the next slide. Oh, wait, come off mute.
Yes. Okay. I wanted to ask thank you very much for these classes because my nephew got into a new builder without um, someone representing him, and then uh, when he presented that house to me, there was a lot of things that he didn't know before. If he knew it and then took someone before, he could have better deal than that. So now another question is this: how do you how can you advise us to go to those new builders? Because I have a uh, new houses that is a big, no development close to me, and then I want to have as much because I'm already working with a young buyer for that
So
new development.
yeah, so let me shorten this just a little bit here. So is it you're trying to figure out verbiage for the builder to work more closely with the builder and the relationship? Or is
How
it
do you do it? Yeah, because it's there, and then since it's in my area, we went to some of the meeting, but I missed some of them because I was not aware of it. And then I want to know what type of approach can you do? Because I really want to have as much of those house.
so if it is partnering with builders and that is that the question here? So let me shorten it. Is it
Yeah,
partnering with builders you're looking to do?
yeah.
Okay.
I want to see
So
how I can get the info to get what can I do to if I'm going to the builder, what can I say?
yeah, what can you say? Okay. I don't mean to rush you, but I know there's a class at 12 o'clock, so I want to make sure I get Jeanette's and I have 3 more slides. Definitely rewatch this recording because I actually gave, I don't know if you came a little later, but I gave a lot
Yeah,
of verbiage on how to go in with value. But it's literally just walking into a salesperson's office. Like if You're the salesperson at a new build. I'm going to walk in. Hi, my name's Alana. I'm a local agent with Keller Williams Legacy, Keller Williams Capital Properties. And I want to see if you ever partner with agents to help introduce your homes to the market, help bring you more buyers, right? Really help promote them. Do you ever partner with agents? Now, here's the thing,
Okay,
they're
and
either
then
going to be like no or yes.
okay, what phase of the, because they are still building, they haven't even put the side,
You want to get
the
in, yeah,
shingle.
you want to get in an
It's
ASAP.
taking up
So
too
if
much
you, I don't
time.
care about the houses being built, if you see a trailer
Uh-huh.
on site and you
Yeah,
can walk into the trailer or knock the door and there's a person, you want
okay.
ASAP because another agent, if you wait, some other agent popping in there. Yeah.
Okay,
You want
thank
it
you very
before
much.
you want to get in before the homes are built. That's
Okay,
the
yeah, okay, good. Thank you very much. I
yeah.
was just, because I'm just keep watching it, and then I say, can I go in? Can I? Because I don't know, I didn't know what to do.
And again, and then Jeanette, come on off of mute. You're coming next. So it's not about, don't be afraid of the no. You might have to visit 10 builders before you find one that's like, well, we're not looking to partner with a new agent yet, but we may. Let me get your information. Like, they don't know you. You're a stranger. So they don't know how you work. They don't know the value. So sometimes you have to show value, but it's that introduction and then building value over time that builds the relationship for them to then bring you into the fold. All right, Jeanette.
Okay, my question's real quick. When you uh, drop the extra 0.5% or something with your client, should you have that like an addendum in writing or just verbally say it? I mean,
Um,
because paperwork will show that there's like say 0.5% hanging somewhere.
oh, right. Yeah. I mean, you could just take the buyer agency agreement, cross out 2.5, put 2, and they initial it. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a big, ordeal. All right. I already went through this communicating with the buyers. So here's the thing, common mess, right? The builder doesn't need my agent, right? I'll get a better deal without an agent. The sales rep works for me, right? The builder's rep works for the builder. If you walk into a Richmond Homes sales office, that is a salesperson for Richmond Homes, meaning that is the seller, right? So they're not represented. It's no different than if you're working with a buyer. It's no different than you're talking to a buyer. They haven't signed with you yet. They walk into a open house. The listing agent is doing the open house. And that listing agent helps them buy the house, the house, well, they can't do that because they're representing, but it's no different than that they can't represent them both, but it's no different than them walking to a for sale by owner and the seller, the owner is now saying, well, here's my house, here's this. The buyer knows nothing. That they're not protected. That's the biggest thing with this. They're unrepresented, not protected. Nobody has their best interest at heart. That's why we say to the buyer, when you walk into these homes, nobody has your best interest at heart. And this buyer agency agreement is for me to have your best interest at heart. It's for me to protect you. It's for me to work on your behalf. Right? Builders rarely discount their base price. Just so y'all know that. Now, here's the thing. You're going to have 2 types of homes. You're going to have the fabricated homes, which have like silver, gold, and platinum. Pick one, right? Here's the price for each one. Or you're going to have, and this is actually one of my friends, not my best friend, but the other friend who bought the new build that I popped out to help. This was their scenario. It's a new build, but they get to pick out all their features. Okay, so again, if you're looking at new builds with somebody, you want to let them know, like let's say you're about to go see a new build and you've done your research because you're the agent, you're the professional, and that new build, you know that the agent can pick out their own features. Their website will tell you, by the way. It's all public. You want to let your buyer know, even before going to it. It could be a phone call, it could be like right when you show up before you walk in. hey, just so you know, this is a new build. However, the person who purchases it, so if this is the home for you, there's going to be a point where we get to go to a big warehouse, pick out features. However, those features are all upsold and extra there. So it's going to be extra. So whatever price, so let's say the house is, so this was the example of my friend and her husband. The house was, the starting point was 560. So they signed paperwork for 560. But then they go to the big warehouse, which by the way is really fun. I'm not gonna lie, that's like super fun. It's like a huge warehouse of all the features, right? Like stainless, brass this and stainless this, and the flooring and the tiles and all these fancy, the lighting, and it's a little overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little overwhelming, but it's really fun. Um, as an agent, it's more stressful though than fun because you're trying to keep your client under a certain amount. So my friend, I was like, listen, you just signed for 560. That's not your price. You're going to go to a warehouse. You're going to pick features. And if you choose any upgrade features, your price is going to go up and up and up. So when we go to the warehouse, you're going to look at the features that are must-haves because anything else can be added over time at a lower cost to you. Now, here's what ended up happening with this friend. We went to the warehouse and they were a kid in a candy shop. Her and her husband, now they have money, so her and her husband went wild. And they did as because again, these salesperson's there because they're selling. You're trying to keep them in check. It's like doing this. At some point in time, I was like, listen, all I can do is advise you. All I can do is ask you financial questions to make sure you can afford it. Because at the end of the day, if it gets too high, you won't be able to afford it, and then you can't even have the house. I was like, so what you do with that information is up to you. So we're in the house, we're in that warehouse. They went kid in a candy shop. Their 560,000 home went to 920,000 very quickly. And that's what they purchased it for. By the way, I didn't get, as an agent, the commission was based on that base rate. It's not on all the extras. So don't think like, oh, my buyer's going to buy all these things. I'm going to get more money. No, that's not how it works. It's base rate. Okay. And we want to always do what's best for the buyer. So we just educate. Oops, wrong way. What's really cool about builders is it's not the traditional resale contract that we know of in GCAR, MAR, or whatever system you use. It's actually the builders all have contracts, which makes it so much easier for us as agents. However, you have to read it. The builder's going to sit there and just be like, the salesperson's going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. Great. We're going to take this. We're going to read it over. So you as the agent say to your buyer, okay, I'm going to read this over before you sign it to make sure I have all the details. Okay. And then I'll then send it over to you for all the signatures. We're going to explain it. You need to read it because those builders will put in they're going to put in language that your buyers need to know. Like in mine, it was, now I should have read mine in full, but I didn't. I skimmed it. Which I wish I had AI. I'll just pop it in there and be like, recap this for me. Because it was huge. It was like 59 pages. And there was a page though that said, based on where I was moving to, our house is in direct path to BWI Airport. So we'll be hearing loud plane noises at all hours of the day and night. It literally said that in the contract. I didn't read it. So when I moved in, I'm like, wow, these are really loud planes. Now I don't hear it anymore because I'm used to it because I live there. But anybody who visits me, like, oh my God, those are really loud planes because it's like literally right here, like above my house, like right there, all day and night. You want to read it because there's longer timelines. There's going to be language in there because if it isn't built yet, it might say due to be built by, the end of March. But we're dealing with contractors, we're dealing with weather, we're dealing with material. So whatever time frame it gives you, it never is in that time frame. Never. Just set that expectation right up front with your buyers. I know they said around the end of March, but they said the keyword around. It will not be the end of March. It almost never is. If it is, we're just going to be pleasantly surprised. Like just set the expectation up front. There's always deposits up front that are, it's not just like that 1% EMD. There's always a deposit they're going to have to make. That depends on the builder, of course. But there's also more builder favorable clauses. So it's just reading it to make sure you understand it as an agent. There's no way to understand builder contracts until you actually have one. I mean, you can go out there and do research and look, but until you get a buyer and they do a new build. But I will tell you this, someone who's worked mostly with clients who buy new builds and myself, they are so much easier. As long as you read it, they are so much easier and less time intensive for us as agents. Again, oops, I already said that. Why does this keep going backwards? My goodness. Builder timelines can change, delays happen, appraisals occur later. So your buyers need patience, clear communication, proper expectations. If your buyer is selling a house to move into this one, you need to make sure they have not only alignment of dates, they might need to do a rent back. I'm not going to go into detail on what that is. If you come across that scenario, we can get to that. Because they need a place to live. They need, my friend and her husband who bought who bought a new build. It was so delayed because of construction issues, like ordering materials. It was so delayed and backed up because the fridge was like 2 months on back order and they didn't want a different fridge, that they actually had to leave where they were living and they lived in their parents' basement, the wife's parents' basement, for 2 months. But again, prior to that, when we were sitting there, I was like, we need to have backups. Because just in case it's not ready, where are you going to live? So we did that way up front. Don't wait until all of a sudden the 10th hour and all of a sudden they're homeless, which by the way, I've seen happen. Like I legit saw someone, I knew an agent who didn't set expectations, didn't line it up. The new build was prolonged. They sold their house. The new buyers wouldn't do a rent back. So they actually had to live in an extended stay, like one of those hotels extended stays for like a month, which I mean, it's an option, right? And put all the stuff in storage. So just make sure you have all these conversations up front. It's just, again, it's just education, education, education. There's the thing, builders might, there's always going to be walkthroughs. There's going to be, if it hasn't been built yet, there's a number of walkthroughs, right? When the pre-wall, before the walls go up, there's a walkthrough. There's going to be when the walls go up, there's a walkthrough. There's a final inspection walkthrough. That's my personal favorite. It can last up to like 3 hours because you are looking at nitty-gritties. Just because it's a new build. When I bought my new build and I did that final walkthrough, and settlement was the next day, by the way. Okay, so I did the final walkthrough the day before settlement. That's usually what happens. Where they put the fridge down, the entire wood floor was cracked. Like huge crack in the wood floor. We had paint missing on some of our cabinets. We had crack in the wall. We had nails sticking up in again, this is a new build. We had nails sticking up in, what's it called? Some of the stairs. So it's just walking through it. Now, they expect this. Your buyer should expect this. You should expect this. I've never, ever, ever walked through a new build that's perfect. It's not possible, right? I still went through settlement the next day. We still settled. We still moved in. They came in between that next day and 2 weeks later. They fixed everything because everything's under a guarantee. But again, it's just setting the expectations up front. And you as an agent knowing that they also have the right to their own inspection. They can also they can also do the inspection addendum to have their own inspection. Just because they buy a new build doesn't waive that. We talked about lending already. We talked about being an educator. We talked about building instructions or building relationships, should I say. We talked about adding value already, so I already went over this. I should have moved this slide forward. I'm going to share all these slides in our community for all of you. All right. So here's the thing. Right now, just pick one thing to start with. Maybe it's making a social post. I know I said I'd go to AI, but we don't have time because there was so many great questions today. Thank you. And there's another Zoom y'all have to pop on. But just find one thing to start with. Are you going to do a social post? Are you going to go visit a model home and introduce yourself? Are you going to go to AI and ask it, like ChatGPT, and ask it maybe for a script or how best to get into value to provide to builders? Maybe ask it how to do social media to market out new builds more to attract buyers. Right? There's so many steps you can take. For all of you, it's choosing one. You attend today, now choose one thing you're going to do this week. Now, this week is today and tomorrow. So, get a whole 2 days, but just choose one thing you're going to do. Maybe it's even just make a list of some of the new builds around you, just to start with, right? Okay. We're out of time. I can't open up for any more questions, but if you have questions, you can put them, you can text me. I love this topic. It's one of my favorite topics. You can put it in our community and our Go Collab community. So other people can see your questions and everybody can see the answers. That would be a great thing to put in there.
Thank you.
Uh,
New builds are fantastic. Again, you have another Zoom, so I do have to top off, but you all have my information. So go ahead if you have other questions, go ahead and text me. I'll just throw it in the chat box here just in case you don't have it. There you go. Have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.